What's up, Clyde? Justin here, and I'm gonna start by just being totally honest with you guys, okay? Something that I'm learning about myself is I think I might have trust issues. Anybody else feel like you have I don't know what it is. Well, I actually know exactly what it is. I'm gonna tell you what it is. Throughout my life, these things have built up a lack of trust in me, and I'm gonna tell you a couple of these things that have caused me to have trust issues, okay? The first is gluten-free cookies that look like normal cookies. The amount of times in my life I've gone like, a cookie, and I take a bite and I just get sharp cardboard because it is a gluten-free cookie that has disguised itself as a real cookie, and it's the worst. So that's one reason why I have trust issues. Another reason I have trust issues, if anyone in this room has siblings, you will understand this lack of trust, is when you wake up in the morning and all you want is Captain Crunch. That's all you want. It's nothing crazy. You just want some cereal. So you go to the pantry, you get that box off the shelf, and you pour out a bowl of dust. You know the dust that's left in the bottom of the bag? Whoever used the cereal last, put it back, used all the cereal, put the empty box back. That's why you have trust issues. Me too. Some of us, we have smaller trust issues over things like empty cereal boxes. But some of us, we have trust issues and we withhold trust from other people because our trust has been broken in really real ways throughout our life. And you see, today, like what we're talking about is specifically, sometimes we can withhold trust from God. And we hold back on completely trusting God. And today we're actually gonna look at a story of a guy who trusted God wholeheartedly. So let's read together in 1 Samuel chapter 17, picking up in verse 41. Goliath walked out toward David with his shield bearer ahead of him, sneering in contempt at this ruddy-faced boy. "I am a dog," he roared at David, "that you come at me with a stick?" And he cursed David by the names of his gods. "Come over here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals," Goliath yelled. David replied to the Philistine, "You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you and cut off your head." Talk about trash talk. "And then I will give the dead bodies of your men to the birds and wild animals, and the whole world will know there is a God in Israel. And everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us." As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into his shepherd's bag and taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling and hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. Then David ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from its sheath. David used it to kill him and cut off his head. Okay, so there's a lot there, right? Super dark threats, slingshots, a giant that is now dead. There's a lot to unpack from that story. But what I want to focus in on is in verse 48, when it said that Goliath started to approach David. You see what David did? He ran into that fight. Now here's the thing. I don't know a lot about fighting, but you don't run into a fight if you're not confident you can win it. And what I love about David and what I love about this story is David ran with confidence, not in his own slingshot or stone or his own abilities. He ran because his trust was in God. He knew that his confidence was in the right place. His trust was in the right place with God. You see, guys, David didn't know how this situation was going to play out. David didn't know how to be an expert in hand-to-hand combat. David didn't know how to use a sword. He didn't even know if he was going to win. But he knew that God is who he says he is. He knew that God is worthy of our trust. And that's all he needed. And you see, when we find ourselves in shaky situations, maybe you're not fighting a 9-foot giant, but maybe you're in a class and it's way harder than you thought it would be. And you feel like you're in over your head and you just feel like you don't know what to do. Put your trust in God. Trust that God will give you what you need to get through the situation he's put you in. Or maybe for you, your family, the dynamic is shifting. The dynamic today is different than it used to be, and you don't know what's next, and you're not sure what might happen or what it'll look like. Don't trust in yourself. Don't trust in your own strength. Trust that God is good and that God is with you always. You see, that's the thing about trust. Trust fills the gap between the known and the unknown. And let me explain that a little bit. Trust gets us from, okay, I know what's about to happen. I have no idea what's about to happen. And that's where trust comes in. See, trusting God says, okay, this is no longer a simple math class. I no longer know what is happening here. I'm in the unknown, but that's where I apply my trust in God. So guys, I don't know what the scary situation is for you. But what I do know, and what we can learn from David's story, is that putting your trust in the right place, putting your trust in God in those shaky situations makes all the difference. It did for David, and I know it can for you too. And you see, guys, sometimes trusting that God is in control means also trusting that God knows what's best. You see, sometimes for me, I'll see a scary situation right in front of me. It's like, all right, I gotta trust God through this. We can do it. Like, put my trust in God. I got this. I'm gonna put my trust in God. And then I get halfway through and it's like, well, this actually is not fun at all. And I wouldn't have done any of this way. And so I'm gonna jump ship and I'm gonna try and trust myself to get through it. And you see, guys, trusting that God is in control means trusting that God knows what's best. Even if you find yourself in a situation that you wouldn't have chosen those circumstances. It's trusting that God is in control and will get you through it and make you better on the other side of it. You see, guys, our trust in God is what fills the gap between the known and the unknown. But only you can choose trust. No one could choose trust for David. No one could choose to go into that fight with confidence for David. No one can choose trust in God for you. It has to be your choice. And so what is it for you today? What is the area that you just cannot let go of your trust issues? What is the area for you that you just need to put full trust in God? And you see, guys, just like David, we have to choose to trust God even when things get hard. So what is it for you today? Maybe you're facing something right now that you've been trying to face by yourself, and you've been trying to just toughen up and get through it, that maybe today, maybe for the first time, you say, all right, God, I'm going to trust you with this. I'm going to trust that you know best. I'm going to trust that you're in control and that you have my best interest in mind. Because you see, guys, trust in God bridges the gap between the known and the unknown. And so today, put more trust in God than you did yesterday and see what happens. You may just slay a giant. Love you guys, and we'll see you next week.